Culture gaps. Culture gaps. Culture gaps. Culture gaps. Culture gaps.
Oh, welcome to Culture Gaps, everyone. The podcast where me, Mike Morin, and my friend Gregg, we talk about movies. Specifically, movies that either I haven't seen and Gregg has seen, or ones that the other way around. You get it. Basically, it's a Venn diagram.
It's not a. One day I'll go over a Venn diagram with you, but that's fine.
Definitely
It's
a
fine.
Venn diagram. I went and asked other people, and they said, "Okay,
Just keep going.
all right." Anyway, welcome to episode 4. No one thought we'd get here.
No, everyone doubted us. All the haters.
Everyone doubted us. Haters, go fuck yourself. You can bleep that out, right? What's our rating?
This is like an X-rated, NC-17 maybe.
Oh, okay. This is taking a turn I like.
Yeah. This is gonna be a dirty episode, y'all.
This is going to be real good, because you know what movie we're doing? This is the worst segue ever.
I do know what movie we're doing.
Yeah, I said it. I gave a little hint last time, and by hint, I mean I told everyone.
Yeah. You explicitly said what it was.
I explicitly said what it was, and people think this is absolutely insane. A movie that I have not seen ever in my life.
Yes.
I have never seen Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Is that the full title, or is it just Raiders of the Lost Ark?
I'm pretty sure it's just Raiders of the Lost Ark.
But it's Indiana Jones, right?
Yeah. For sure.
And it's Han Solo.
Nope. There's no Han Solo in this movie.
Han Solo plays Indiana Jones?
Harrison Ford plays Indiana Jones.
Oh, give me a break. Harrison Ford is Han Solo forever and ever. Well, whatever.
Oh, you're a real Star Wars purist, huh?
I'm a real Star Wars purist.
You can't see him as
yeah.
anyone other than Han Solo because you just love that character so much.
Look, name one other thing that Han Solo was in.
That Han Solo was in, other than Star Wars.
You know, I meant to say Harrison Ford that time, but it came out as Han Solo.
I feel like Han Solo was like in, I don't know, like Ready Player One or something, probably. Right?
Is he?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I just feel, I haven't even seen that movie. I just feel like that movie is a series of cameos.
Yeah, probably. Look, let's talk about this movie.
Yeah.
I have impressions of it.
Yep. I'm sure.
Right.
There's no way you don't.
Barely. No one has ever told me anything about this movie.
Okay.
So I don't know the plot of it.
Yep.
I do know that it's Indiana Jones.
Right.
Who is like some adventure professor dude, right?
Sure.
You're never going to confirm this. So
I'm just going to.
Okay. He's the professor of adventure arts at a college, probably some Ivy League school.
Right. Of course.
I'm going to guess Harvard.
Yeah.
And there's an ark, which is God. What are the raiders in the ark? I can't even guess what those are.
You'll just have to watch and find out.
There's a giant boat, and there's people attacking the boat.
Yeah.
And he's got to stop these people from attacking it. Find an artifact. There's a rolling. Is the rolling ball in this movie? You're not going to answer. There's a rolling ball in the movie chasing him. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing that's this one. It could be not.
Yep. What about all the animals 2x2 on the ark? What about them?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Monkeys like in Crystal Skull, which I have seen.
Right. Yeah, you saw I've seen the horrible, awful Legacy sequel.
Yeah, my face hurt after watching that movie because I was like,
you were crying,
mind blown on how terrible it was. My face was like stuck in a position where like my eyebrows were thrown together. Like,
yeah, for the listener, Mike is looking incredulous and furious at.
Yeah, describe this look for them.
Yeah, like, what the fuck is this movie? I'm angry it even exists. God damn it. Yeah, it's kind of like, he's like gagging himself. That's getting really dirty now. Okay, he's just, I can't really describe this for the audience. It's going to get X-rated. We need to stay at NC-17.
Good thing this is a podcast in which you listen to an audio file and not watch a video.
Yeah, fortunately you guys didn't have to see the goat set level horror that I just saw.
Oh, anyway, Indiana Jones, I imagine, is the same exact character as Han Solo. No different. Only difference being that
He's not in space.
not in space, yeah, and no Chewbacca,
Yep.
which is already a negative for this movie.
You're a big Chewbacca fan.
Who isn't?
Me.
No way. You're telling me that this giant hairy dude is not someone
All right.
that's your favorite
His
character
hair
from Star Wars?
is nasty. Firstly, it's disgusting.
What?
It's all ratty and dirty and clumpy. Secondly, my dude can't even speak. What am I supposed to latch onto on Chewbacca? He just stands there
like
and goes like, "Oh."
Okay. Do you like dogs? You tell me you hate dogs on this podcast? You're gonna get canceled.
Dogs are better than Chewbacca.
That's insane.
But okay,
Well, it's not.
Here's the
I
other
agree
thing,
with that.
though. Here's the other thing. I just don't think like watching a dog be a dog would make an interesting movie character.
You're wrong.
That's fair.
Says the world.
Yeah, people love Chewbacca.
Yeah, no shit.
I guess he's just innocent or
man.
something. I don't know.
He's probably the fourth best Star Wars character.
Wow. All right,
Yep.
rank your top 3 then. I gotta know.
R2D2.
That's your number 1.
Yeah. Rio.
Yeah.
That's what he does. He's a
He's a
Rio,
Rio.
for TIE fighters. I really like the porgs in the new Star Wars. Those are those little bird things.
That's not.
Love
I mean,
them.
that's not a character though. That's
Well, I'm going to pick them. It's my list.
like a bunch of creatures, but okay.
Third, somewhere between Yoda. Oh, you know what? Mandalorian characters. Yeah, Baby Yoda.
Yeah. Yeah, Baby Yoda. That's everyone's favorite.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he's so cute.
I really like all the characters in Star Wars. This isn't about Star Wars, is it? I mean, it has Han Solo.
Yeah.
Look, Indiana Jones. I went to Disney World out in California.
Oh, Disneyland then.
Disneyland. Ah, man, I thought I got it right when I said it. I was so confident. I was like, I said the right one. I've also been to Disney World.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I went to Disneyland and I went on the Indiana Jones ride, and that was really fun.
Yeah.
That's all I have to add to this. So if it's anything like that ride, I'm into it. There must be a Jeep, right, in the movie? If there's a Jeep that you ride in the ride.
Yeah. I'm sure.
Is Indiana Jones based on the ride? Kind of like Pirates of the Caribbean is?
No, the movie came first.
Okay.
So I will say my experience with this movie
Oh, I'm interested.
is that I grew up with it to the point where I couldn't even tell you the first time I saw it. Like, it has just always been part of my life.
Wow. You like it?
I think so. It's been probably 20 years since I've seen it. It's been a really long time. But
Oh, that's great. I love when you haven't seen it in a
yeah,
while.
as a child, I absolutely loved this. I actually liked the sequels more when I was a kid. These were like some of my dad's favorite movies. So I think that's why we watched them a lot. It was this and Star Wars, actually. The two series that I just watched constantly on video. And I can't remember a time when I hadn't seen Indiana Jones or Star Wars.
Wow.
So I think that's probably why people get so passionate about it when you say you haven't seen this movie, is because there are a lot of people like me who can't even fathom a world in which we haven't seen this movie. So for you to have never seen it, it's like, what? But what? You had so much of your life to watch it and you never did? I've been watching this for 30-something years.
That's weird. I know, it is strange. The fact that I've seen Star Wars and I didn't really like Han Solo kind of really played into this.
So your parents didn't like this movie then?
My parents aren't big movie people. They didn't have opinions on movies.
They just play
like,
CCR over and over instead of watching movies.
Like, I asked them what their favorite movies are, and my dad says Field of Dreams.
I haven't seen that one.
With Kevin Costner. Oh, we're not adding it to the list.
It's on the list.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's insane. I think I just listed off Kevin Costner movies.
That's
for
one of
you to
those
see if you've
movies
seen them.
that, everyone's, if you build it,
Yeah.
they will come.
And my mom's favorite movie is The Shining.
I mean, she's got great taste.
Yeah.
That's a great movie.
But I don't know if they have any taste in stuff beyond that. I mean, they like binging like new sitcoms and stuff, but they were never passionate about movies. So it's not something I got from them. Like there are some things my sister growing up watched that I avoided watching, which is on our list and stuff. Like Interview with a Vampire was her favorite movie. So like anything my sister watched, I just avoided it because she's 7 years older than me. And I was the little brother.
That's interesting. I feel like I wanted my sister, who's 5 years older than me, I wanted to have everything to do with everything she thought was interesting.
Really?
Yeah. Like she was obsessed with Garden State when that came out. So it's like, cool, I like Garden State.
Was your sister also like this weird gothic person?
No.
My sister was dark. She started the holes in the sweatshirts and the fishnets, all black, everything.
Wow.
She really liked all those. I don't even know if it's gothic. Like gothic people like Kurt Cobain so much. Like I don't even know.
Are you saying gothic?
Yeah, gothic.
Gothic?
Goth.
No, I like gothic.
Gotham.
Yeah. Gotham people.
Yeah, she's a character out of Batman.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think everyone was into Kurt Cobain, right?
Yeah, I wasn't. Because my sister was. We've been over this. So, do you think I'm going to like this movie, Raiders of the Lost Ark?
I actually think you might.
Really?
Also, interestingly, it's interesting that you don't like the Han Solo character because I feel like you are kind of the Han Solo character.
That's insane.
Where you're just like brash and you insult people and try to push them away, but they like you anyway. You know, you're like
that.
You're like
Okay,
rude to
let me
people,
correct you
but
there.
you're lovable at heart.
That makes me Jar Jar Binks, not Han Solo.
Jar Jar Binks. Jar Jar Binks loves everybody. He wants to be friends with everyone.
Yeah,
that's not you.
That's me. I'm like, Misa, your friend. There's no way I'm Han Solo. Everyone wants to be Han Solo except me.
Well, that's probably why you are him. If you want to,
I wanted to be Luke Skywalker.
you want to be Han Solo, you're not going to be him.
Wow, you're saying I'm the cool guy?
Kinda. You are a little above it all.
Wow, that's crazy.
Anyway, regardless, I
do love Chewbacca.
I would get. Oh my god, does that make me Chewbacca?
Yeah.
Is that why I hate Chewbacca? You hate Han Solo?
Let me tell you, if you saw what your hair looked like right now,
oh god,
just saying,
it's true. Yeah,
I don't know.
I think there's a chance you might like this movie. If I didn't know that you were so dead set against it going in, I would say you were gonna enjoy this movie a lot. But knowing that you're sort of predisposed to not like it, so I'm gonna guess that you're probably not gonna dig it.
Well, no, I'm only predisposed not to like Han Solo, Harrison Ford. Let me recap here. I don't know the plot of this movie.
Yep.
I don't really know the character of Indiana Jones that well, other than what I can guess.
Right.
I have no idea what the Raiders are or the Lost Ark.
Mm-hmm. It's all explained in the movie.
I guarantee it's not. Now that you said that.
It actually
I don't know a single other actor who's in this movie.
Okay, that's interesting.
It's never come up.
I'm not going to tell you because there's at least one that's going to be, you're going to be like, whoa.
I'm going to be happy about.
Probably not happy about, but you'll just be like, oh, wow, I didn't know he was in this.
I'm actually excited to finally see this one. Like, I didn't actively go out of my way not to see this because of Harrison Ford, but it's just like, I pass it up. I didn't go out of my way to see it.
I'm interested to see it again, too, because it's been so long for me. And I also can't really separate it from the sequels in my mind. So I'll be curious to see.
Am I going to have to watch those?
Yeah. Yeah, because they're also big cultural consciousness movies, and also I need you to watch Temple of Doom, which is the second one. We can't not talk about that movie. I'm dying to talk about that movie with you.
Really?
The second one is bonkers. It's insane. Like, a lot of people hate it. So,
but you love it.
Maybe. I don't know. I'd have to rewatch
Wow.
it. It's so bizarre on so many levels. I cannot wait to watch it with you. We're definitely going to cover it at some point.
I'm pretty excited to do a movie that doesn't have Tom Cruise in it. right now.
Yeah,
It's gonna be good.
I know. We did 2 in a row. We're gonna have to stay away from him for a little while.
We did do Speed in between.
That's
but,
true. It wasn't
2 that I haven't seen. Yeah. Everything I haven't seen so far has had Tom Cruise in it.
That's true.
And you've added more. You've added Jerry Maguire and Magnolias to the list.
That's
so
true.
Like,
That's true. Yeah, but those will be much later because those aren't super interesting.
oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, because that was
All right.
Rain Man was back when I was trying to keep things uninteresting. Now we're getting into where it's going to get interesting.
We're getting into the good stuff, and I'm about to watch Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I'm gonna get back to you on how I feel about that. We're gonna watch that beast right now. We'll be back right after this beautiful tune. Culture Gaps.
Culture gaps.
Wow, that theme song is good. Yes. Oh, man. During the time that we listened to that short little jingle,
Yeah,
I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark.
it's true.
Granted, it did take, like, I don't know, 5 sittings for me to watch this movie.
Really?
Yeah, it was logistical concerns.
Got it.
I have 2 babies, so I had to keep stopping
Yeah, that makes
and
sense.
rewatching it. But yeah, I've seen Raiders of the Lost Ark now.
Congrats. How do you feel about that?
Mixed feelings. Okay, here's how I
Yeah.
feel. First 3/4 of the movie, I had a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
Oh,
Yeah, a lot.
Nice.
And then the ending turns out is just like Crystal Skull. It's absolute garbage and turns like to this magic nonsense
oh yeah, where
where
like
everything goes wild.
yeah, where it's like, oh, the Bible's all real, and angels, the God's wrath will smite you if you open this magical artifact.
Yeah. None of that.
Interesting.
Hated the magical religious stuff.
Interesting.
But I loved the, that theme of the movie and the ridiculous stuff. It passed bad for me and went full circle back around and was actually good. Like, I enjoyed it.
Wait, what? Wait, what circled around the adventure
movie.
stuff or the ending part?
No, the movie itself. Okay, so there was such ridiculous things in this movie. Like,
Yeah.
the guy in the beginning reacting to that statue set the tone for me. I was like, oh, we're not taking this movie seriously
Yeah, this
at
man
all.
just screams at the top of his lungs when he uncovers something behind a bush.
And that's the moment I was like, okay, I'm into this.
Yeah, this is a campy movie for sure.
And that's what I liked about it.
Yeah.
I just couldn't get behind the whole magical ending. And
That's really interesting because I think that is sort of a definitive part of Indiana Jones movies is that there's always like magic involved in some way, like the supernatural.
I just wish it was actually set in reality, this theme.
Right.
I think it would be more interesting to me. Like, keep the ridiculous campy stuff,
Makes
but
sense.
set it in reality. I didn't know that it was supposed to be like Indiana Jones had that theme where things were magical.
Right. You thought this was going to be a grounded sort of,
Yeah.
or at least set in the real world, even if it's campy and cartoonish. It's, there's nothing outlandish or impossible happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is all the more reason why we need to watch the sequels together. But
Oh, God.
but yeah, this is probably the most grounded of all of them.
You're kidding me.
The third one, it's been a long time. I think the third one gets back to the basics a little more. But
Wow.
I think this does make sense because one thing I noted partway through this movie, so just to reestablish, I haven't seen this since I was a child. And my film literacy has increased a lot since then. And so now rewatching it, I was like, this is just a Western. The whole movie is like a globe-trotting Western. It mostly takes place in the desert with these wide landscape shots. There's this anti-hero who's nomadic, wears a wide-brimmed hat, and saves a damsel in distress. It's very clear good versus evil stakes. The whole thing is just a Western, except that it turns into a fantasy movie at the end. So that's probably why you got turned off by the last quarter of the movie, but enjoyed what led up to it.
I don't feel like this was a Western at all. I don't think it grappled with any Western themes. This is an action movie. Like,
So what if I told you that this movie was based on Westerns?
no way. What, like
so
like a John Wayne Western, maybe?
So yeah, like old timey serials, like Saturday morning serial movies, basically, where like this thing before TV was really a big deal. Like kids would go to the movies to see these like Saturday matinees, and they would play these serials that were like, you know, some swashbuckling hero in like a Western setting or an action adventure setting or whatever. And you would have to go back week after week to see how the story played out. So George Lucas really wanted this to be
Like that.
you know, an homage to all that and grapple with those themes. And so the character was based largely on, this won't be a surprise to you, largely on James Bond, but also Clint Eastwood.
There's no way that this no. I guess the fact that he was
That's wrong.
it is wrong to me. I don't think that showed at all in this movie. Maybe the fact that he was a little quiet. I have a lot to say about Indiana Jones, and I don't want to get into it just yet. I'll get into it a little later when we get down to our notes. I want to talk about how this movie compared to my expectations of it.
Yeah, I would love that.
I did expect a lot because so many people say that this is one of their favorite movies of all time.
Right. Yeah, it's widely considered to be one of the best.
And I get that if they saw it when they were a kid. Like, this is the same thing with Top Gun. Like, if you saw it back then, you have nostalgic love for this movie. But watching it for the first time in 2022, I'm like, this did not hold up as much.
I feel like it holds up okay. There's a lot in it that I don't think works as well. But, I mean, even adults who saw this in 1981 loved it. You know, it was nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars.
Really?
Yeah, but, you know, I think the one thing to keep in mind that's important is this movie also set a template for what a lot of movies became in the years since then. So there's a very real chance you just have seen this formula played out like a million times in other ways that you liked more than this. So now watching it back, you're like, I feel like this is, you know, kind of what I've seen before, but they haven't worked out the kinks yet.
I guess so. I think I just had a vision of what this movie would be because it has such a large cultural impact. And there are certain things, like scenes in the movie, that I didn't know exactly were this movie, like the boulder scene, for instance.
Right.
I knew it was Indiana Jones. I assumed it would be the first one. So I assumed it would be this movie. And it is. However, it was so underwhelming. Like, I thought it would be this big scene where it was like terrifying, and it just like
the intro
happens real quick.
Yeah.
Or like every time they play the Indiana Jones theme, I thought like some cool action would be happening, and every time it was some out of place, weird, like tiny thing happening.
I thought it was hilarious because the first time they play the Indiana Jones theme is when he's swinging on a vine into the river and completely misses the plane. Like, it's this moment that is not heroic at all. And by putting the score, you know, the theme in that moment, it's kind of this like, it undercuts the tension and ends up being a comedic moment. And that's one thing I think people also really like about this movie is that it's very funny without sacrificing the stakes of the movie. Like, it still feels life and death, but there's a lot of comedy in it as well.
Yeah, I think I did like that. I liked that it kind of didn't take itself seriously most of the time.
Yeah.
I think there were just iconic things about Indiana Jones that I expected from him and this movie that just came back very underwhelming to me. Like,
yeah,
I thought it would be bigger.
It's interesting. That's kind of like how I felt like when with Goose's death in Top Gun as well, because it had just been hyped up so much. I was just like, oh, it's going to be this big thing, and then it's like, oh no, it's barely matters.
It barely matters.
And you know, I think that's similarly, you know, what you're talking about now, like with the boulder that he has to outrun. It's a small part of the movie, but it became iconic because it stood out in people's minds. And then the sort of like cultural memory of that moment became so much larger than what it actually is.
It's amazing how powerful cultural memory is. Like, it changes things drastically.
Although, you know what's crazy about that scene? Little trivia. They built that boulder out of a bunch of random shit, and it weighed 300 pounds, and Harrison Ford actually did all of those stunts with it.
Really?
Yeah, like 10 takes or something. And Steven Spielberg was like, I don't know why I did that. That was stupid. We put his life in danger.
I respect that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a lot of parts of this movie that I recognized from parodies of other things or references from people.
I bet.
Like this did happen for me in this movie, unlike some of the other ones. The "why they have to be snakes" quote, I've heard like that redone a million times, or people say that. I'm also curious if the snake on the plane had anything to do with the movie Snakes on a Plane. Like, making a movie about snakes on a plane could have triggered someone to make it at some point. Who knows?
I think there were like 25 years between those movies, but yeah.
Yeah, but like this movie's so big to people, I guess.
It's true.
Just like one reference to it could have triggered something.
I mean, it is true. This movie is still influencing movies now. Like, I keep seeing ads for this new movie, The Lost City, that I'm like, yeah, this is just Indiana Jones.
Oh, is it
Sandra Bullock and
Lost
Channing
City.
Tatum?
Oh, that's something different. Okay. I was like, is this the Uncharted movie? Like
No,
the video
but
game?
Uncharted
Just came.
is another example.
Yeah.
That's just
a whole
Indiana
video game
Jones.
series, yeah.
And the whole video game series is Indiana Jones as well.
Tomb Raider's essentially Indiana Jones, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it definitely sparked off a big theme. Like this theme is seen in video games, board games, everything. I like it. I like the theme. Like I said, I had a lot of fun watching it up to a point.
Yeah, because it was a Western until it stopped being a Western. That's why you...
I disagree. I do not. Wait until I get you to watch a Western.
It's a Western that's just not boring.
There's also that the natives chasing Indiana Jones scene. I've seen that parodied a bunch.
Boy, yeah. Can we just talk about
I have a lot to say about
how racist this movie is?
I have in big text. Is this movie racist?
It
Question
is.
mark.
Yeah.
Everyone who's not an American is an enemy.
Yeah, 100%. Except for Sala. Is that what was his name? The guy that John Rhys Davies plays. But that is
Oh my God.
also problematic because it's a Welsh guy playing an Arabic man.
Yeah.
Like, oh boy.
To be fair, that was my favorite part of this movie, is seeing him in this movie.
Oh yeah, John
Love me
Rhys
some
Davies.
Gimli, and he was by far the best actor in this movie. Just in the lines he delivered in their talking scenes, it was like, okay, he's like the only one who can act in this movie.
I don't know. I really enjoyed I don't know the actress's name. The woman who played Marion.
Oh, yeah. So, a lot to say about her, too. My first note about Marion was, everything is insane about this woman, and I kind of like it.
Yeah. I actually loved it. So I didn't even remember her being a character from when I was a kid. This movie was all just Indiana Jones. And I think,
No one's ever mentioned her.
yeah, because Indiana Jones, like, let's go back to the James Bond thing. Like, each movie, he kind of has a new girlfriend each time. Like,
Oh, this is just a one-off?
I think so. I mean, again, it's hard for me to remember these movies, but I'm pretty sure it's just like a different woman in each movie. But
Wow.
yeah, so I barely remember her, except that I remember she's with him strapped to the post at the end of the movie. That's the only reason I knew she was there, because he was telling her to keep her eyes closed. But then rewatching it, I was like, oh, she's like this hard drinking badass who like plays it close to the vest, you know, like doesn't falter under pressure, can hold her own, doesn't need a man to save her. Like, I kind of liked her characterization up to a point.
To be fair, she was very, and this is what it's clear a man wrote it, she's super emotional and lashed out constantly.
Yeah. Well, but also, though, did you pick up on the lines where she said that they had a romance when she was a child?
I did not catch that.
Yeah, it's like
elaborate.
It's like 2 lines of dialogue, but Jeremy and I were watching this together and we were like, wait, what?
Was he a child too?
That's what I don't know. I don't know. But what she says to him is like, I'm still mad at you for just like walking out 10 years ago. I was just a child, which implies that he wasn't.
I wonder if she was a student.
So I looked it up. George Lucas apparently originally wanted it to be that she was 11 years old when she was dating Indiana Jones. And Steven Spielberg said, no, she has to be older than that.
That sounds like a very unsurprising conflict between those two people.
Yeah. Hold Hold on. Before I keep going, I need to look up this actress's name because I'm going to keep mentioning her, and I hate that. Karen Allen.
Karen Allen, yeah.
So Karen Allen came up with a backstory for her character that doesn't play into the movie a whole lot, but one of the things in her backstory is that she had a relationship with Indiana Jones when she was 15 or 16. So she's not like a kid, but she hasn't seen this guy since she was a teenager and she was in a romantic relationship with him, and he just like left unceremoniously. I kind of feel like her giving him shit really was justified.
Yeah, that's fair. It did all seem justified now that I'm thinking about it.
My one issue where I do feel like it's a problem, going back to the emotionality thing, like she's just like screaming for him all the time. Like anytime something happens, she's just like, Jones! Jones!
Like when he goes and finds her in the tent tied up, he kisses her immediately, and then, which was kind of weird to me, out of nowhere, because I didn't know they actually rekindled the relationship at this point, and then leaves her tied up in the tent, fucks her over again, and then they follow that shit up later where he's like injured or something, and he's pointing places for her to kiss, and then like she kisses him, and he falls asleep. Like he just constantly is like, whatever, chick, and then he wakes up the next morning. They're both like undressed, like they've just hooked up overnight in a very Spielberg way. And like he definitely passed out while they were kissing. I don't put it past her character to have slept with Indiana Jones.
It's possible, I guess.
Oh, it's very plausible.
So speaking of that scene, can we just acknowledge real quick how fucking hot Harrison Ford is in this movie? Oh,
it's interesting.
My God. Just like sweaty and swarthy and hairy and so masculine. It's unbelievable.
He got real dirty at some point, so.
Yeah, and you love that. That's your favorite. Boy, yeah, there's just like scenes. He's like perfectly tanned and he's got like chest hair bursting out of his unbuttoned shirt and like this like 4-day stubble growing in. Whew.
I think there's a little bit of a culture gap here.
Maybe. You didn't think he was hot?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, he was just Han Solo, right?
No, he looks way hotter than Han Solo in this movie.
I will say,
more rugged.
And I wrote this about Indiana Jones' character. I thought he was going to be much worse than he is. I obviously didn't know he was a player because I didn't know that this was a one-off person in this movie. I thought she'd be a recurring character.
Yeah.
But he's much more likable than Han Solo.
Oh, I'm glad you think so. Yeah. I think
liked
he is
Indiana
too.
Jones.
Yeah. So actually, there's some trivia for that. That's largely Spielberg's influence. So George Lucas mostly developed this idea somewhat on his own and somewhat with another guy whose name escapes me now. But then he brought it to Steven Spielberg and they developed some of these ideas. But one of the things George Lucas really wanted was for Indiana Jones to be an alcoholic and a womanizer. And Steven Spielberg didn't want that. So they rewrote a lot of stuff, but even in the edit, they were fixing this stuff because the scene where at the beginning, the guy from the college comes to Indiana Jones's house and he's like in his undershirt and like puts on a robe. The reason he was in an undershirt is because there's a woman who was in that scene that they edited out. The idea being that, you know, Indiana Jones is just like sleeping with some random woman because he's just a womanizer and they edited it out. But then there were also like drinking scenes that they mostly cut out except for when he thinks Marion dies and he's just like drinking whiskey to cope with her death and stuff.
It's so interesting that your trivia leads down this path every single time, which is that George Lucas is trying to ruin things and Spielberg makes things better. Because that is how I feel about movies.
Wow.
I'm actually a big fan of Spielberg. I have mixed feelings about, like everyone, I have mixed feelings about Lucas.
Right. I mean, I think it's fascinating that we're even talking about these two extremely influential filmmakers just casually collaborating on a movie that George Lucas didn't even direct. I mean, he was like a second unit assistant director or something on some of the scenes, but mostly he was just like there as a producer. But it is wild to think that at a certain point, like at the heights of both of their power, these guys were working on things together, even though individually they were also making amazing stuff. Like Empire Strikes Back came out the year before this movie.
I'm curious if I watched Empire Strikes Back in 2022 for the first time, if it would stand up.
You have seen it, but you're saying if you hadn't?
I've never seen Star Wars.
Yeah,
Of course I have. We're not going to find anyone who hasn't seen those movies.
Yeah, we also, at the beginning of this episode, we talked about Star Wars for like 20 minutes.
I'm constantly comparing him to Han Solo.
Yeah.
That'll be real interesting. I just never watched it because of Han Solo. I don't think he's anything like Han Solo. I guess he could be like James Bond. However, I actually got, and this, obviously he couldn't be based on this character, but in retrospect, I think Jack Sparrow might be based on Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I was thinking when I was watching this movie, I was like, if Mike really watches this and doesn't like Indiana Jones, I'm going to bring up Jack Sparrow.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the thing. That's why I liked him as a character more. I mean, he's like as competent as he is lucky, and he is as smart as he is kind of dumb at times.
Right.
But like in a likable way, yeah.
Yeah, Indiana Jones sometimes is a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
And I love that they let him just be that sometimes. Like, he doesn't always have to be the smartest guy in the room.
Oh, I love when like people have their moments to shine, but they're not perfect. This is good, even in this movie where it's not taking itself seriously. But if it were, that would be really good as a character.
Yeah.
Granted, Jack Sparrow is way better to me.
Oh, boy. Moving on from that. I don't even want to touch that.
Wow.
Yeah, so I will say, as a kid watching this movie, this was thrilling. I mean, just like corpses and crypts and traps and, all this crazy stuff was like so dark and just like drew me in because it was shocking and strange. And, I think the supernatural elements where I didn't even have a problem with it because, partly because I was raised religious, so it didn't even read supernatural to me, but also because it was like, oh yeah, this is like this sort of larger than life, like you could find magic if you found the right ancient ruins kind of fantasy. Like I just loved that as a kid.
Hold up. Yeah. You were allowed to watch this movie as a kid?
Yes. So that was something that Jeremy and I talked about a lot is we both watched this as children, and that is shocking because this movie is so violent.
Very.
So this movie was rated PG because it came out.
PG-13 didn't exist yet.
Actually, the next movie, Temple of Doom, is widely considered to be the movie that pushed the MPAA to create this rating. I think Spielberg petitioned them for it because he was like, look, this isn't an R-rated movie.
They're like, look, Raiders and Top Gun slip by. We need to do something.
Yeah.
Apart from rating it R for hate crime, I don't know. Like,
So this movie actually was rated R at first. And it was largely because of that guy's head exploding at the end of the movie. And so what they did to fix it was they just put some flames over top of it.
I want to know who judges this.
Yeah. So it's like you could you could just barely see this guy's head exploding behind some fire.
All right, they put some fire over it.
It's like, okay, so it's
decent.
not rated R. Now this is a PG movie. Children can go see it.
Wow.
But yeah, there's like some deeply upsetting visuals in here, like that snake slithering out of a corpse's mouth.
I know. Just the constant bodies and like traps have killed people stuff. Like,
oh yeah. Plus there's like 64 people die in this movie or something like that. Like there's constantly people dying, and it's very bloody when they die. It's not just like they fall down like in PG-13 movies now.
Yeah, like you wait like 5 minutes for that guy, the big brawler dude, to get killed by the plane.
The propeller.
Everyone's waiting for it. We're like, okay. Is it going to explode from the fire, or is he going to get shredded by this blade?
Yeah,
or
he
both.
just gets pureed.
Yeah, I was waiting for that.
Yup.
I did like, okay, this part was a little westerny. There's a moment where he faces off against this guy who like starts going crazy with a blade.
Yeah.
And then just shoots him. Like he brought a knife to a gunfight, dude.
Yeah.
I like that.
That is an all-time great moment. People point to that as one of the greatest moments in like cinema. So there's also
That's a stretch.
people love this movie, Mike. I think there's a little context to be had there as well, is that like cinema was kind of declining in the early 80s. Movies weren't as big of a thing as they used to be anymore. So I think this movie really revitalized the movie-going experience in a lot of ways, to the point where this movie was actually in the top 10 at the box office for 40 straight weeks.
My lord.
Anyway.
That's like an Adele song.
Yeah. But that's just a tangent. But the reason why that scene is interesting is because it was originally scripted as an actual like big fight where Indiana Jones had to fight this guy with a sword. And that actor actually learned a bunch of choreography and was like ready to do all these stunts with Harrison Ford, except that Harrison Ford got dysentery. And he was too sick to do the stunts. So he just went to Spielberg and was like, what if I just shoot the guy? And that's how it got in the movie. It's just like everyone got really sick from some local food. And they just didn't have it in them to do the scene as written.
One of the greatest moments in cinema history was brought to you by dysentery.
Yep.
I'm not surprised. I loved it.
That was a great moment.
Hey, can I ask you for trivia? Like, I didn't look up any trivia. Can I ask you if like, hey, is this real? Hey, do you know if map travel in this movie they do map travel?
Yeah, travel
and I see
by
that
map
all the time now.
Yeah.
Is this the first time that was done?
I don't believe so. I think that's a trope that's been around for a long time.
I didn't know if this movie did it.
I would guess that's been around since like adventure movies in like the 20s. Like when you have to just like show like, oh, we're just moving between two sets, but we have to make it look like we traveled across the world. This movie, they actually did fly across the globe to shoot.
I mean, I love map travel. I mean, Muppets perfected it.
Yeah, they travel by map. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get into the Nazis, man. We need to talk Nazis.
Nazis.
Totally relevant still in 2022.
Very sadly, yes.
But more specifically, I want to talk about the Nazi monkey. Because I had high hopes for this monkey for so many reasons.
Yeah, you did say in the intro of this episode that you thought there would be a monkey in it.
Did I?
You said that there would be monkeys like in Crystal Skull.
I was hoping.
Yeah.
I love monkeys.
There's a very good monkey in this one.
So this Nazi monkey, right?
Yeah.
Cut down in the prime of his monkeyhood.
Yeah, by his own master.
By his own handler. By accident somehow. Like this monkey didn't know his master was going to go through this plan and just happened to walk in and, well, I'm going to eat that.
Yeah, he wasn't privy to the full details of the plan.
Yeah, before this happened, I had come up with this entire plot in my head about how this monkey was going to turn good and join Indiana Jones.
Wow.
And then immediately after I finished that entire storyline in my head, he dies.
Yeah.
I was so sad. And I really had high hopes for this guy. Best character in the movie. The monkey.
Wow.
And then Gimli.
Yeah, Gimli.
And then maybe Doc Ock.
I know, who just dies in like the first 5 minutes.
So young looking. Did not recognize him.
This was his first movie. This was his first feature film, yeah.
As a very extra-like character.
Yeah,
almost.
just like a very duplicitous, just like a red shirt.
Yeah.
That's what they say in Star Trek, right?
Yeah, but I watch TNG, so red shirts are actually the command. Interestingly enough, Picard has several Indiana Jones storylines where he is like an archaeologist on the side. So he has like Indiana Jones episodes.
I don't think that's what archaeologists do, though.
but I want it to be.
Indiana Jones is basically a thief. Like, even in that opening scene, I was just saying to Jeremy, like someone went through all the trouble of setting up these traps so you wouldn't take this golden idol, but you're just taking it anyway.
Yeah, you're just a glorified grave robber.
Right. Yeah, like clearly someone didn't want you to take this, so why are you taking it? Just so you could put it in a museum and somehow that's noble?
It is interesting why he wants to do it.
Yeah.
Given that he's doing it for, like, the American government. Is that what we're assuming here? The FBI? What was it?
I think Indiana Jones wants, like, the glory and the sort of, like, clout in academia or something. Or he's just gets satisfaction out of it. I don't know. But at the end, the government does swoop in and take the Ark, and Indiana Jones is, like, bummed out about that because he wanted it.
I kind of like that.
Yeah, that the government just is like, no, we're going to put this in our warehouse of occult objects.
Yeah, but you also think, like, they'd try to use it if it's all this magic shit. Like, this is why magic ruined it for me. I just had so many questions after them, like, oh, what happens to the world next? Like, now that this very real thing happened.
They just put it in a warehouse and everyone forgets about it.
Underwhelming. Kind of like I generally felt about a lot of things. I had fun watching it, though. I enjoyed the experience of watching this movie for the first time. Yeah.
Rewatching it, I thought it was fun as well. I thought it was a little slow, maybe, and a little overlong. Like, Indiana Jones, they find the actual location of the Ark, get the Ark, put it in a crate, and, like, get it up out of the tomb, and there's still 30 more minutes of movie after that. I'm like... Yeah. Like, at that point in the movie, I was thinking, like, oh, we're just about at the end. The Nazis are waiting at the top of the hole to take the Ark. Then they're going to open it, and their faces are going to melt off, and that's going to be the end of the movie. But it's not. They, like, take the Ark and drive away, and then there's, like, a car chase, and then there's, like, a submarine thing, and then there's, like, pirates on this boat. There's, like, all this stuff that keeps happening. And it's just like, well, couldn't we have just done away with that and just made this like a real breezy hour-and-a-half movie?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Did you notice that scene where there's some on-screen eating? Karen Allen eats a bunch of stuff, the French guy.
No, I didn't notice this.
Yeah, what's his name? Belloc, the French guy. He like brings her into his tent. She's been tied up, so she's all hungry, and she goes and starts devouring like a sandwich or something.
You were into that.
I just love on-screen eating, and she takes really big bites. It's really fascinating. She's able to sell that she's starving and wants to eat this thing without actually, like, swallowing any of it. She's not actually eating anything. She's just stuffing it in her cheeks, but she does a really good job of making it seem like she's ravenously devouring it.
You're really into this.
I love on-screen eating. We've talked about it before. That's why I brought it up.
I didn't realize you put this much thought into on-screen eating.
Of course. This is why I love movies. They're fascinating.
So, do you have more trivia? Or is that it?
Oh, I'm sure. I have tons of trivia. George Lucas also didn't want Harrison Ford for the role originally.
Who did he want?
Well, I can get into a list of names if you would like.
Oh, this is the stuff I love. I love the coulda, shoulda, woulda.
So this isn't
hit me with
this isn't everyone who's considered, but these are the big names, I guess.
Give me the ones who matter.
So I guess the big one is the first choice before Harrison Ford, who had to drop out due to a television contract, was Tom Selleck. Speechless.
How would you have felt? Because you were very passionate about Harrison Ford, young Harrison Ford.
Oh yeah, being so hot.
How would you have felt about Tom Selleck in this role?
I mean, Tom Selleck is a real hairy dude, so I would not have been mad.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. Wow, that would have had a different vibe for me. That would have gone further towards action. Less towards the campy category, yeah.
Yeah, I think it would have been a different movie. The way Harrison Ford plays it, I think there's like a certain amount of humility to the character almost. I feel like Tom Selleck would be closer to just James Bond.
Yeah.
Okay, so beyond Tom Selleck, who was like the
Yeah.
first choice and had to drop out,
Yeah.
here are the other people who are considered: Bill Murray,
Oh.
Nick Nolte,
Oh.
Steve Martin, Chevy Chase,
Okay.
Jack Nicholson, Jeff Bridges, and Sam Elliott.
Wow. These people are. How old were they?
I mean, this would have been like 1980 that they were casting it, so I don't know, in their 30s probably.
Wow. I'll be honest with you. I'm actually digging Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones.
Wow.
And this is coming from me. I changed
Yeah?
my mind. I don't like Han Solo, but I like Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones.
Wow. I told you he has more range than you might think.
I would say, though, that Johnny Depp would have been the best choice.
We can't we can't do this. Did you notice the scene where the French guy Rene, when he eats a fly?
I did. Oh my God. I thought I was seeing things.
No.
He totally ate the fly.
It's become
Wow.
pretty famous. The actor says that just after the camera cuts, the fly flew out of his mouth. That's what the actor says.
I hope to God that there was some Mike Pence style memes at the time for this. There were no memes at the time for this.
No. Yeah. Where would memes be distributed? Like in the newspaper?
But now, the backstory for the fly on Mike Pence's head is that was the fly that flew into that French dude's mouth.
Shit. Yeah, it probably was.
Let's get to the ratings.
Yeah. What would you rate this movie now that you've seen it?
5 out of 10.
5 out of 10. You seemed like you were really into it.
Yeah, and then I wasn't.
Wow.
Well,
Okay, so
here's
what
the
about
thing.
the first 3/4 of the movie? What
Look.
would you rate the first, just if there was no supernatural element, what would you rate it?
If it didn't have that, I probably would have given it a 7 out of 10. Wow. Well, my rating system, I don't just give high numbers. You know this. Like,
I mean, sure.
they're pretty low. Like, 5 out of 10 I thought was decent. Like, this is not.
But didn't you give Speed an 8?
Oh, Speed's a great movie.
What?
Speed, not.
Wait. Speed is an 8 out of 10, and Raiders of the Lost Ark is a 5 out of 10.
Absolutely. Speed
Wow.
not only was. No, like, Speed lived up to its, like, potential in 2022. It was still a good movie. It didn't date. Like, like, nothing about it dated. This movie is dated. It has a terrible ending. I can't get behind the magical aspect of it.
That's wild.
It kind of ruined the entire theme for me, but I did have fun with it, so I think it's solid middle of the road 5 out of 10.
That's wild. Yeah, so I gave it an 8 out of 10 rewatching it.
Wow.
I thought it was a little dated for sure, and I think I wrote that because this set the template for what movies were going to become for the next 40 years. It now feels a little bit boring because it's a formula that I've seen so many times that it's like this movie is just like harmed by its own impact on pop culture.
Yeah. It's hard rewatching these movies, like having seen the formulas played out so many times and then going back and watching it and thinking, oh, this was innovative for its time. But now it's just like, okay, I've seen this. Let's go.
But yeah, I think it's a solid movie. It's a great, like, crowd-pleasing blockbuster kind of film, which is like Spielberg's whole thing. It's a great classic Spielberg movie. It's got all his touches all over it.
It does, but Spielberg, in my opinion, has made way better movies than this.
Oh yeah, like War Horse. Did he do War Horse?
Yes, and War Horse Gets Shit is a way better movie than this.
You think War Horse is a better movie than Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Absolutely, it's a better movie than this.
Oh my god.
But more namely, I don't know, Jaws or
Jaws. Yeah, I mean
Jurassic Park or Hook.
Jurassic Park is good, but oh come on, fuck off with Hook. There's no way Hook is better than this movie.
Hook is 100 times better than this movie.
Then we need to rewatch Hook because you will be like, this movie sucks and does not hold up.
I've rewatched Hook more recently than you'd expect.
Oh, okay. Then you just love it because you were a kid when you saw it.
Yes, absolutely. But that's like something that happens with these movies. Like people who saw this as a kid loved it, but I don't know.
Yeah. Hook has some serious problems, though.
And that's probably the difference is I have seen Hook as a kid because I'm a millennial, but most people who like this movie are Gen Xers. So.
I think to an extent. I think a lot of millennials grew up on it too, though, because, as I said, the VHS tapes were so ubiquitous in the 90s as well.
That's fair. I literally could not have rented this on VHS at the time because every time I went to the store to get a VHS, I got Warriors of Virtue.
Oh, you didn't just own Warriors of Virtue?
I didn't own movies at that time.
Well, I mean, I say own. I mean, you have like a 2-bay VHS player, and then you copy every video that you rent for Blockbuster.
I didn't learn that early enough, unfortunately. And when
That's
I
what
did,
my parents did.
When I did, I recorded every episode of the Timon and Pumbaa show on VHS. Anyway, full circle, this is basically the Timon and Pumbaa show.
It's true. So I've been your host, Timon. I mean,
Hey,
Pumbaa.
you're Pumbaa.
No, I thought I was Chewbacca, and you're Han Solo.
No way. I would be R2-D2, and you'd be C-3PO.
You're Indiana Jones, and I'm Marion.
That's problematic for everyone in this. I say we get to the next movie.
I would love that.
Okay, let's talk next movie, Greg. This time around...
This is one I haven't seen.
This is a movie Greg has never seen, which is harder to find because Greg was a little more into watching movies, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know what this is, by the way.
Well, this is a movie that's based on an SNL skit. I don't know if you've seen the skit. You certainly haven't seen the movie. And that is Wayne's World.
Party time.
What? Have you seen this?
No, but I know a lot about it through reputation.
I looked at your list of movies and not knowing how you felt about SNL or particularly these comedians, thought based on the movie itself, this would be one movie that I think Greg might actually like.
Really?
Yeah.
Isn't it like... Okay, so I haven't seen Wayne's World except for a couple clips that I've seen around, but isn't it generally considered to be like extremely fucking stupid?
Yeah, but it's absurd. It's just absurdity.
Like MacGruber, another SNL sketch turned into a movie.
That's way worse.
Really? I love MacGruber. So.
Wow. Okay.
That's, I mean, interesting. I guess we'll see. I think MacGruber is a secret masterpiece.
That's the same. We'll unpack that on the next episode when we talk about Wayne's World.
No quote this time?
Oh. Why did it have to be Raiders of Lost Ark?
Culture Gap.